What's going on, guys? We are back here with another video. Right next to me I have a new GSR head. Well, it's new to me. It's actually a bear head that I picked up in Jacksonville yesterday. So I'm going to start tearing down on this. What I really want to do is clean up the head, disassemble it 100%, and port it. Since I don't know if you guys saw on the channel in the CRX, I did a little bit of porting for that head for the P8R. It came out pretty good for a novice, at least. I mean, somebody that isn't experienced. And there's a bee around me. Save the bees. But I think it came out pretty decent, and I really want to give it a try on the Integra's head, which is what the Integra will be using. Another cool thing about this head, apparently it was just a stock stock GSR head, from what the guy told me. Apparently it looks like it's bronze guides in here. If you look inside, those look pretty bronze to me. So as long as I'm able to not damage the guide once I'm porting it, then we should be able to use those. I don't see why not. And for the rest of it, you know, like I said, I'm just going to start tear down right now. Hopefully get the head down to like a bare head and, you know, go from there. Sweet. Alright, so as you saw in the time lapse, I have most everything disassembled besides like the little accessories like the coolant ports and whatnot, the sensors. I'll take that off in a little bit. Just a little thing to note, this is basically what the rockers all ride on. Obviously there's the pins that engage the VTEC lobe and everything. If you aren't familiar with how this goes back together, I definitely recommend you keep it all in order. But in my case, it's not that big of a deal for me. I can throw it back together later. One thing that really helps is like a 17mm bell housing bolt goes into these long rods that go through the head. Once you have all the cams taken off, obviously the caps taken off, there's going to be these two little pins, have threads at the top. Normally you don't do that, you don't use it, you don't have to at least. These will sit in here. I believe this one sits on the left, and then the one with the little top piece sits on the right hand side. Basically for those, you can either use a little flat head, and through these ports that, yes, you take off, it's a little 10mm Allen key. Then you just push it up, or you can use some dikes and grab them from the top. It's not that bad. Looking a little more at the head, it does have the valve guides, the bronze ones on the exhaust side, but for some reason, the valve seals are still on this side. But if you look closely, it's the OEM ones underneath. So I'm not sure exactly what the previous owner had done, or the previous owner had done, because there's only bronze valve guides on the exhaust side. Obviously, we're going to do bronze valve guides all around, which I'll have the machine shop end up pressing in. I think for the time being, since we're going to be porting everything, I'll probably knock the OEM ones out of the intake side and try to port around the exhaust. I want to do a little more porting on the intake side and less aggressive on the exhaust, just for the setup that we're going to be doing. But I really want to get like a nice knife edge in the center and then work my way around the guides. This has just been whiz-wheeled, it's not ported or anything. But it's definitely a good way to start off. I'm going to take everything off right now and then start knocking out the guides. All right, so skip forward the next day. Last night I was only able to do a little bit of porting, and then today I cleaned it up with the sand bit. I only got intake side of one of the cylinders. I haven't touched the other ones. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, these were already whiz-wheeled or Y-wheeled, whatever you want to call it, just like clean it up by the previous owner. Now we're actually doing a little bit of port work itself. So here is, just so for reference, let me turn on the flash. Here is just the whiz-wheeled one, essentially still a stock port. It may have taken out a little bit of the casting marks, but it's essentially a stock size port. Now this one is after my porting and my sanding, using the sanding bit and the porting bit. It's not perfect, it's not pretty. I'm still gonna touch over it a little bit, but if it'll focus. It's definitely a lot larger than before. I smoothed out some of the areas where the air will flow, and I knifed the center So instead of having this big blockage of air in the center, has the knife, which is what all like the big porting companies do, which apparently helps out a lot. If the head doesn't flow efficiently, in like worst case scenario, then I'll just put a different head on it. But I really wanted this to be like a learning experience. I did a porting on the CRX head, and it flowed pretty good. We don't have any issues with that. But I'm gonna try to do a little more aggressive than I did on the CRX. As you can see, that one is pretty knife edged. I think it came out decent for somebody who doesn't port professionally or not a machine shop or whatever. But like I said, if it doesn't come out good, then we will, you know, go from there. But yeah, I'm just gonna set up the time lapse like you saw right here. This is the next port that I'll be doing right there, pretty much stock. And I'm gonna do a rough cut right now with this burr tool. And then I'll show you what it looks like after the rough cut. It's kind of hard to set up a position that you can see me actively doing, especially since this is still a phone. It's not like a camera that if it breaks, I can still go day to day working and everything. This is my actual phone. So I have like this little tripod I'm gonna set up on the 5-gallon bucket and try to position it so you can see like my hand techniques at least, but you won't see inside of the port as I'm doing it, unfortunately. But without further ado, yeah, I'll just set this up and start on a time lapse. All right, so I got a little bit of the rough cut done, not complete yet. Let me just show you, just that in the light. And it's still completely ugly because I'm not done with it, obviously, but I'm starting to narrow out the center, started widening the sides a little bit. I haven't touched the top too much. I haven't even touched on the part where the cylinder receives the air or anything. I think that's called the bow or bowl or something. I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me. But I've just barely started cutting away at it. The light doesn't do it justice. All right, there's a little better. Just barely starting to open it up. Like I said, I'm not a professional. I'm just giving it a try. If you guys have suggestions in the comment section below, make sure to drop them down and let me know what you think of porting and any tips. Maybe I can go over the head or keep them in future reference, or in mind for future reference. Here you can see like all the little metal bits that I've been grinding away. This bit, I think it's already starting to be on like its last leg because it's not really cutting as well. I have an assortment of different ones over here, which I might give a try and like practice on. This one is a similar style, if it'll focus. Similar style, it's got like the angle to it. This one is just like the one I just showed you. And this one is just like a straight, it has no angle to it, it's just a cylinder. So that might come in handy. And then I also have this ball looking one. I got these all for like 20 bucks on eBay or something. But yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna charge up the compressor again because it's starting to get pretty low. Well, I normally have it running during the whole time since it is a smaller compressor, but I'm gonna start having that finish getting charged up and then continue on this. And also, I've been following this page, SB Machine Shop. They're over on the West Coast. I've been following his page for a little bit. One thing that he always recommends in his stories is that when he does his port work, I think he says he only does one cylinder or one runner a day. That way he doesn't get frustrated or overwhelmed since it is a long process. And then you can always go back to it another day and make sure that you have everything patient. So I'm going to try to take that into consideration right now. I'll probably finish up the second intake port and then set it down for the day. And then maybe tonight do a little more, or tomorrow morning before it's nighttime, obviously, so I don't wake up my neighbors. Probably do some then. But little tips and tricks that I'm trying to pick up from other people is always pretty cool. Alright, so I think I've reached a reaching point, or a stopping point, better said, for the rough cut on this second port. Here you can just kind of see that. Got the knife edge, got cleaned up around the guides for the most part, so I'll have to rough it up a little bit right there. I want to cut the lip right before the guides like I did on the other side. But for the most part, I think it's pretty good. Here's the first. Here's the second. Got to clean it up over here on the, there's a couple burrs on the edge. But one thing that I wanted to note to you guys was when I was doing my knife edge, if you see the bottom, it kind of goes upwards and towards the left. I cut it a little wrong. I cut it like at an angle almost. This one, it's pretty straight. This one, it's a little towards the left. It might not do anything, but since I'm new at porting, I don't really know how those little mistakes can affect it. What I am gonna do is go over it again and try to rectify that. I really, from my idea, from my point of view, I feel like that being towards the left will split the air at a different rate. So what I want to do is cut it straight. That way both chambers or both valves get about the same amount of air. Now when it comes down to the valves individually, they both come back together right here in the chamber obviously, and is for one cylinder. So it might not even be that big of a deal. But just for peace of mind, I'd really like to clean that up real quick. It might be something even as small that I can do it with one of the sanding bits instead of the rough cutting bit, because this thing is so aggressive that any little extra movement can maybe even cut the wall itself, and that's the last thing I want to do. That's actually how that happened. I got a little more towards the left because I cut a little bit too much on that side, if I'm not mistaken, or I cut in too much on the right hand side. So I think I might cut in a little on the left to kind of like make it look like it's a little straighter and then go from there. But yeah, that's pretty much the second rough cut that I have right now. Like I said, I'm about to clean it up and then go from there. All right, this is after the sanding bit. I got the knife edge in the center a little straighter. Still not perfect, but I think we'll be able to send it. Not too bad for a at-home porting job, I think, at least. I could be wrong. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I think it looks pretty decent. Obviously, the valve guides are getting changed. This is still on the intake side, which did not have aftermarket valve guides. These were the stock valve guides. Yeah. I think I may order a valve guide punch because I tried getting cylinder 1. I think this is cylinder 1 or cylinder 4. I don't care. I tried getting this cylinder right here, guides out. I took the first one out, as you can see, after hammering it out with a little punch, and the second one started breaking as I was taking it out because I don't have the correct style punch. This is the ones that I have are essentially just like a regular style punch, and sure, it can work, but it's not as good as the ones that you're supposed to use. The valve guide punches, instead of having just like a little mark at the end of it like that, it actually extends like an inch into the guide and like keeps it straight or something. Apparently I've seen videos of people taking them out super easy. So what I may end up doing is ordering that, see if I can get it in the next like 2-3 days off of eBay or something, or Amazon, because I can't find anywhere local that has them. And then if I get those, then I'll finish doing like rough ports like I'm doing right now, and then I'll go over where the guides are and make those perfect. But for the time being, it's fine. I'm going to probably start on this one, then I have to head to work in about an hour, so I probably won't finish it, but I'll get to a good stopping point, and then we can go from there. Nice. Port number 3. I don't know, it must be me. I always tend to make the knife edge towards the left. Maybe I have to take off a little bit more material on that side. Yeah, I can take off a little bit more right there. But it's opened up quite a lot. I gotta grind down a little right here to make this more even. But I think it's coming out pretty decent. Alright, so I think this is a pretty good stopping point for the video today. I kind of went over some of the things that I'm looking for to do with the port jobs, and I was able to port cylinders 1, 2, and 3 on the intake side. I think tomorrow morning I'll be able to do 4 on the intake side and start the exhaust. It's almost like 3:20 right now. I have to head to work. I work at 4 today, so I've got to get cleaned up and everything. But I think it's a pretty good stopping point. Like I said, this That's a camera that's falling. But like I said, this is where we're pretty much going to keep it. I'm going to do a few adjustments, like the valve guides, like I told you, once I punch those out, and a little bit on the bottom of the intake port. I just want to even it out to the other side of the valve. If that makes sense, on one singular port, it's split into two. One of the valve ports is a little lower than the next one. I'm not sure if I'm explaining everything. I'm just trying to get you guys to see what I'm seeing. But I'm really happy with how the knife edge came out. I ended up doing what I see on a lot of K heads. I don't see it too much on B series, but I figured I'd give it a try. Basically, like where the knife edge goes OEM, it's not really a knife, but where the separator is OEM, they extend it to a knife and extend the knife a little down and a little bit up. So if, for example, let me use this as an example. Like, for example, right here, you can see it's only that area that separates, but right here I have it separates a little from the bottom and separates a little on the top, as well as the center. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to try that out. I've seen it on a few ports. Hopefully it helps out. If it doesn't, then whatever. I mean, it's boost. It's not NA. It's not as crucial as an all-motor car. This is just shoving a bunch of air into it. It's still crucial, but not as crucial. But yeah, this is definitely part one of the port. If you guys have any suggestions that you want to see in part two, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. I'm going to be reading those very carefully. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hit a like and share with your friends. In the next day or so, we should be restocking on the stickers of the Integra because we're almost sold out on them. And we also do have a shirt coming out on Friday, so make sure to stay tuned for that shirt. Should be an awesome drop. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, like I said, shoot me a DM on Instagram, leave them down in the comment section below, or whatever you want to do to get in contact with me. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.